Welcome to Investor's Guide to Memphis Real Estate. I am your host, Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How you, buddy?
Hey, man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be an experienced and successful investor here in Memphis, Tennessee. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide to Memphis Real Estate on our YouTube channel, Spotify, Apple's Podcasts, Facebook, wherever you want to check it out. Show sponsors are listed on your screen below there. We could not do this podcast or run our own personal investment business without them. Triumph Construction, River City Title, Cortland Financial, CrestCore Property Management, and then Will Griffin over at Griffin Clift, Everton, and Mashmeyer. I help buyers and sellers every day. Dean at CrestCore.com if you would like to receive our buyer link and become one of our buyer team members. That'd be great if you have anything to sell in Memphis too. Dean at CrestCore.com. How you doing?
Hey, man, great.
So the biggest, most popular strategy that we talk about from an investment standpoint is the BRRRR strategy.
BRRRR method.
BRRRR strategy. The letter B is in boy and then 4 R's.
Yes.
Buy, rehab,
Yep.
rent, refinance, and repeat.
Yeah.
I can't say enough about what we're going to talk about, enough good stuff about what we're going to talk about. I love this strategy. I've used this strategy, no exaggeration, personally 35 to 40 times.
Dozens of times.
Dozens. It allowed me to scale my business.
Yep.
It allowed me to keep the majority of my cash in my pocket.
Yes.
And my bankers and banker partners were thrilled with the end product. So now let's talk about what else is there.
What
else
I guess you
is
can
there?
unpack that, but wow.
It's just a pot when you're to talk about that, when you're on the other end of the table and you're the banker and you want to know what this person is buying and what they're doing with it, buying a regular home in an area with a down payment is not the most attractive thing to them. They like it. They want the 20% down. I've talked to them. They want the 20% down, but the product deteriorates from that point on.
Yeah.
At whatever level it's at then. And we don't usually know, especially if there's a tenant in there already occupying it, right? You don't know. You buy it and they pay rent. It all sounds great.
Yes.
But what you don't realize, the worst thing in the world someone can tell me when they're selling me a house or pitching me a house, the tenant's been in there for 8 years. They pay rent every time. That means nothing's been done to the home.
Yes. Yeah. It's true.
It's the polar opposite to a new investor. You think it's great news, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't care about a tenant that paid you rent for 8 years. We care about what's happening in the next 8 years.
The next 8 years, what we're going to have to do.
That's right.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, why is this a popular strategy? I mentioned some of those. You can hang on to your money, and here's I'll walk through that.
Yeah.
So if you buy a home with a line of credit or cash,
Yes.
let's say $100,000. Okay.
Yep.
It needs $20,000 in rehab.
I said 30.
All right, it needs 30. Let's run that
There's
math.
30.
Okay, there's 30 grand in rehab, so you're $130,000 in.
Yep.
Before you bought this property and before you started the rehab, you connected with me, and I let you know that this property is worth $175,000 to $180,000. Let's use 180 for the math. Okay. Wow, that's a great deal. We're getting it for $100,000. Ooh, it's in bad shape. Good. It's 35 grand worth of work. Good. 20% less of 180,000 is 134. What's the math?
I did 100. I did 130. 100 plus 30. 175 is the 75% LTV.
So you would let's say the LTV is 175,000. You can come into that. You refinance that $130,000 because your property is worth 175. The bank says, sure, you've got equity in it right here. We'll refinance this borrowed amount, turn it over into a 15 or a 20-year note, and you keep your money.
Yeah.
You didn't spend any money.
Dean, that's the very first way I did this almost 20 years ago.
This was your first one?
My first property I ever bought was a BRRRR. I had a line of credit. I went out and bought it. Then I used the line of credit to put 25% more into it, 25% of the purchase price.
Yep.
And so I was all in it, and it was rehabbed. Then I got a renter.
Mm-hmm.
Then I took it to the bank, and they refinanced it. At my whole I was out $0 and just paid back my line of credit. And then I immediately went and bought a house 7 doors down the street.
And did it again.
And did it again. It's the BRRRR method.
And then when the banker is sitting on the other side, because I need everyone to think about the banker, because it'll help you when you're talking to them. They're on the back end side of going, wait a minute. I just financed a guy who totally rehabbed the house. He's got at least 20% equity in it. And he's about to place a good tenant in there that's going to pay the note for him.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to say that strat. I'm telling you, when I tell people that aren't in real estate and don't know that, they're looking at me like their jaw drops.
Yeah.
You don't need any money. I've even talked about how you can work with CoreLend and you don't even have to have great credit.
CoreLend does it all day, every day. I mean, every week multiple times a week they are funding deals like this for BRRRRs.
So if you come to us and you say, and this is a whole podcast, but I won't make it one because I can get off on a rant about this. If you come to me and say you don't have money and you can't invest, you just hadn't done enough homework. Yes, you can.
Yeah, we can help you.
Yes, you can.
People can help you.
So what advantages does this try to give you? We talk about the condition. I just talked about that. You got the 20% equity in the home. The one thing that a lot of people don't think about is when I gave you the analogy at the very beginning about how bankers like it when you put 20% down. There's cash flow right away. And you have, what you don't know is about the condition of that home. You might get 5 maintenance requests in the first month.
Man, HVAC goes out.
Because listen, because the seller told you they've been in there for 8 years and they hadn't called a maintenance request in 6 months. They're quiet. It's mailbox money. And there's a new ownership change. Oh, I better go ahead and get caught up on some of the things that need to get done here.
Cabinet doors aren't staying shut. This window's painted shut.
This outlet doesn't work.
This attic stairs are drooping.
Ceiling fan won't turn on.
Yeah.
This outlet doesn't work. I swear I could do.
Then the water heater goes out.
I got 20 minutes of those. Yeah. So if you want to sit here and listen to me talk about maintenance requests for 20 minutes, I can just spill them out. But that's what happens when you buy a property and a lot of times when there's an occupied tenant in it. Now, the BRRRR strategy, you've done all these things. Your tenant moves in, you should have very low maintenance for at least 6 to 9 months. Why? Because you checked all those things we just talked about. Yeah. Faucets and toilets flushing and all the other crap that drives me insane from a monthly maintenance issue, right?
Yes.
So let's see. Lower maintenance. The other one I want to talk about is it's scalable. Part of the podcast, one of the topics I was going to do is how to get from 5 to 25.
Okay.
And that I thought about that, but then I pivoted to this.
Yeah.
But this is exactly how I went from 10 to like 40 or something or whatever it was at the time. That's how I went from that. I think you remember telling me the story. I bought a bunch of occupied.
Yes.
Terrible.
It's terrible because of all the things we just talked about.
Oh, because there's another way.
And you buy an occupied property and it's great until the maintenance expenses keep coming and coming and coming.
Until they move out. That's what happened to me.
Or they move out and then you have to do a major rehab and you don't have the cash flow from the property. So it's like, where do you get the money?
And it hurts me now to go back and think about it. It gets me in the feels about how badly I messed that up at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
And I still deal with it, either with some that I had from before or some that just people live there for a while and all of a sudden you look up and they've been there and they move.
My BRRRR properties perform dramatically better than the other ones.
Amen. Just
facts are there.
Yeah.
So it's a scalable strategy. You can definitely grow your portfolio from it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just saying part of why it's scalable is because you in the whole thing we're talking about is like you can keep, to use a term, dry powder. You can keep your cash over here. Yeah. I think about Sun Tzu and the Art of War. And it's like, in Sun Tzu, the Art of War, one of the things he says is like, the best way to fight is to not fight.
That's right.
If you're so good, you don't have to fight. So if you're so good at doing this that you can keep all your cash for a rainy day, that's what you want to do. Because if you don't, it's just what we talked about. If you put a down payment on an occupied house, you put 20% down.
It's gone.
It's gone. And then the tenant moves out in a year. You have to come up with basically another 20%.
You're damn right you do.
So you put 40%. You put 40% down versus the BRRRR where you might be in it for a little bit more, but it's financed and it's no cash out of pocket. And so, if something really, really bad happens, you've got some money instead of being out of money.
I don't want to say never. It's an absolute. Yeah. Rarely do I get an investor that thinks about that. 20 and 25% down, and oh crap, they moved out. Here's another 15 to 20%. No one thinks of that.
Well, the reason I think of that is because it's happened to me.
Yeah, I think about it because I've been punched in the gut.
Because I've been punched in the gut, and I keep getting punched. Not as often, but I still get punched.
Still get punched. Still
get punched.
When you have as much activity as we do, it just keeps happening. My next headline was you can use this anywhere, but what I really want to talk about it's a Memphis thing, and there's a low entry point here. You can BRRRR is not price specific. You can BRRRR anything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, they used to call it value add. Yeah. And they do this on multifamily and commercial. It's like you buy something low, you add some value, and then you sell it or refinance it at a higher value.
Someone bought a big Clark Tower here for $10 million in foreclosure. They probably put another 50 into it. I bet it's a $100 million building now. There's a BRRRR.
It's a BRRRR.
It doesn't matter. Another example is if you can go buy a property over here in Berkeley in some areas for 50, well, maybe not now. Up in Fraser and some other areas, you can buy for $50,000 and $60,000 that need 30. You can BRRRR. There's a low entry BRRRR point. There's a high entry. It doesn't matter. It's not a price point. It's a strategy. You can do this here a little bit better too than some other places. We have a city full of tenants. We've talked about this before. We're a blue collar city. There's a logistical companies here out of the wazoo. Shelby Drive is nothing but an hourly employee way to work. There's so many warehouses on Shelby Drive. The concrete in the roads are dipped like this because the 18-wheelers. I mean, it's absurd.
Yeah,
that they should probably repave Shelby Drive every 10 years. But there's a ton of jobs in that area. Our city is full of them. We talk about all these things. We got the Nike plan,
FedEx,
Amazon, International Paper,
AutoZone,
all the delivery companies, and all the stuff here because we're just centrally located. Everyone wants a warehouse here because you can get anywhere.
It is. There was a listener who, and I went back and forth. He's in Long Beach out in California.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I know Long Beach. He's in logistics. I was like, I know Long Beach. I know
huge.
LA is huge. Is Memphis, we like to think we're awesome because we're in Memphis. Are we really as important as we think we are? And he was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
To logistics and distribution, you were in the center of the country. It's like you couldn't have a better logistics place than Memphis.
No.
I was like, all right, man.
Which is why FedEx has stayed.
That's
why FedEx has stayed.
Guy's a lot smarter than me. No.
He could have taken that company. We know this because of the history of it. Years ago, he could have taken it anywhere. It was in the growth and the stage where anyone would have had him and they would have thrown any incentive at his way or anything to get FedEx there. Fred would have taken it there in a heartbeat if it made sense financially.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
No.
He lobbied the city to build it. I know what he did. He lobbied the city at the time to build him an east-west runway, and they did.
And it's great.
And he stayed.
And it's been awesome.
Yeah.
And it's a good place. So, and lots of jobs, like you said, lots of jobs, not to mention all the stuff that's happening with better jobs, more interesting jobs, the XAI, the Elon Musk. Google, did you see that?
Yeah.
Google's building $10 billion data center across the river, 11
West
miles
Memphis.
From downtown.
There are going to be people that move to Memphis that are going to work over there. They're not going to want to live in West Memphis, Arkansas.
It's a 25-year play. I mean, so it's like this is stuff more and more and more. So it's just it's great.
We have a ton of homes in rehab here. There's a lot that need work. This city has not been BRRRR'd.
No.
BRRRR the city.
Yeah.
There's lots of opportunities all over Memphis. You can BRRRR Memphis.
Over. It's great.
You can't go in other cities a lot of times and get this much activity, but there are a lot of opportunities to BRRRR here.
And we talked about it the other day on a podcast. So we don't have as many permits for new builds as other cities.
Yeah, that's right.
So infill. So it's just. We need BRRRR properties.
That's right.
And not to mention, Memphis doesn't have an ocean. Memphis doesn't have mountains.
No.
So because of that, it's a lower entry point, which is back to what you were saying. I mean, there's just all kinds of reasons why Memphis is attractive.
If you would like to know how to do the BRRRR, we broke it down even further in another one of our BRRRR topics. I've got all the vendor partners for you. I've got everybody that's used to doing this, bankers, property management company. I got construction, everybody, all the vendor partners that are partners of this show, all work the BRRRR strategy. They all are familiar with what we do. So if your next question is, well, how does it work and how do you do it? Send me an email, dean@CrestCore.com. I'll get you connected with myself, a team agent. We'll get you set up with the buyer link profile, and we'll start to send you some of these examples. We can go at it. What else you got on this one?
That's great. Love it.
Guys, any questions, let me know. It's been a great podcast episode here to give you some of this knowledge on the BRRRR strategy. I can't tell you how comfortable I am with this process, and I can't tell you how much I approve it and kind of put my stamp on it. So if you have any questions, Dean at CrestCore.com. We'll see you
See you next time.